Community College on this beautiful winter day. It is a pleasure to have everyone inside, right? Just a few months ago, we had a retiree brunch, and a lot of our retirees came back on campus. We did campus tours and mingled for several hours. It's good to see a number of you back this afternoon. My name is Darren Harkness. Since January the 1st of 2019, I've had the honor of serving as the 4th president of Davidson County Community College. And it is quite an honor to have each of you on our campus from across the state, people that have been impacted by Pat, and all that you have done, Pat, to leave a legacy here at Davidson County Community College and touch people across the state of North Carolina. So we're honored to have you here and honored to have each of you as our guest. Thank you, and I look forward to hearing great stories about you, Pat.
Next up, I want to introduce George Fouts. George has done quite a few things within the system. I know that he's been interim for a few community colleges. I don't think there's anything that George hasn't done. It's like I'm trying to go through the list, and I think he's done them all. So George, I met George last year, and I feel like he's the historian of our system. And so we'd like him to come up and share some words about Dr. Pat's history.
A word of explanation, I'm not Brian Brooks. Brian, we don't know what's happened to Brian. He confirmed that he was going to be here, and so we're a bit concerned. And I think most of you probably know Brian was the second president at Davidson County Community College, and now lives outside of Asheville, and worked with Pat when Pat was a faculty member and coach at Davidson County Community College. I follow all this not because I ever had a chance to work here until last year, but I grew up in Davidson County, grew up in Thomasville, and I saw this place at birth. And last year I had the great honor, thanks to Ken White, who was board chair here at Davidson County at the time. He and Beth Parrott invited me to lunch one day in January, not long after Dr. Rittling announced she was leaving, and asked me if I'd consider being their consultant in the presidential search. So I had the good pleasure of being over here for 6 months on campus, which was a great meeting to me. Thank you, Ken. And I think we hired a good president from everything I've seen in the past.
No question, Mr. Pat.
Darren's doing a great job. So we're going to change the order a little bit, hoping Brian, he hasn't called us for sure, so we're hoping Dr. Brooks is on his way. But I've known Pat a long time, but I'm going to tell, and everybody knows that I tend to go too long, so I'm going to confine myself to one piece. Now, so I won't stop again. If Brian comes in, we'll just switch places. I have been around the community college system for a long time, 46 years, in some kind of capacity, although I retired 18 years ago, and had never actually been employed at a community college since. But as most of you know, I taught part-time for 6 years at Guilford Tech in developmental after I retired. And then I did nothing for a while. Then the Gates Foundation hired me, and I did their community college grants in North Carolina. Spent a lot of time over here where a bunch of that money got invested at Davidson County Community College. And then I retired again, and then 3 years ago, almost 4 years ago, when Scott Rawls left to go to Northern Virginia, the state board asked me to serve as interim president of the system. I thought that was going to be a 5-month job. It turned into a 1-year job. And then I haven't retired since, although I continue to do some volunteer work, such as doing the search here, and now serving with First Sullivan on the state board. I'll introduce her later in the program. First Sullivan on a task force that's looking at our enrollment situation and the demographics of North Carolina, and that's how that's affecting enrollment throughout the system at each of our 58 colleges. But I knew Pat somewhat when I was at Western Piedmont Community College and active in a few associations and had contacts here at Davidson County. But I really got to know Pat directly as a result of the North Carolina Community College Leadership Program. In 1989, I had been at Western Piedmont Community College for 16 years. Never thought I'd leave. Had just built a brand new house, first new house I'd ever lived in as an adult. and never thought I'd ever leave. And Bob Scott, who was the president of the system then, called me up one day and I went down and visited with him. He had offered me a job earlier in his stay in Raleigh, and I told him two things. I didn't want to leave Western Piedmont, and I didn't want to live in Raleigh. And but he offered me an opportunity I couldn't say no to. Some of you will remember that on the 25th anniversary of our system's history, the State Board of Community Colleges and the General Assembly, the State Board had been created in 1980, and the State Board decided to form a commission on the future of the North Carolina Community College system. And the goal of the commission, which included business industry people, a few community college presidents, a few members of the State Board, and several members of the General Assembly, and a few of outside people from the university system, about 30-some members, 35 members as I recall, took a year to look at the system, where we were, and project out where we were going. And their report, which I hope some of you will read sometime, it's really interesting. I suggested Jennifer Haygood last week at Pinehurstburg that we ought to reprint it and share it with you, because it's the same things we're talking about now. We were talking about 25 years ago. But the Commission's report, 33 recommendations, changed this system dramatically. Just a few examples. All 58 colleges within 3 years converted from a quarter system to a semester system. We had a brand new FTE funding program put in. We all had to do long-range planning, which sounds routine now, strategic planning, just lots of things. But one recommendation in particular sticks out relative to PAC. There was a recommendation that we ought to do more for the professional development of our faculty and staff, where we would get the future leaders of the system. A problem that still haunts us today with so many presidential turnovers as a result, primarily as a result of retirement. And here's an interesting statistic for you. During the study of the commission's study, in one particular task force that Brian Brooks was on, he was then president of this college, particularly looked at our budget situation. And we took every single expenditure that we could imagine could be interpreted as professional development, including all travel in the North Carolina Community College system. And guess what? It amounted to less than 0.5% of the total system budget. Less than 0.5%. And at the time, E.K. Fretwell, who was on the commission and then was the chancellor of UNC Charlotte, some of you may remember that name, E.K. had found this article where the average Fortune 500 company in America was spending 8% of its budget for development of its employees. And we were in the education business, and we were spending less than 0.5%. Well, one day, a group of women from the AAWCJC, the North Carolina chapter of the American Association of Women in Community and Junior Colleges, got hold of me. Oh, so Bob Scott hired me to come to Raleigh to take over the work of the Commission on the Future and stay with him for 3 years to implement those 33 recommendations, which is what I did. So they got hold of me, and they said, we got a plan for professional development. And Susan Allred, who is so good to see again, Dr. Allred was a long time, always at Forsyth, right? That's the only place I remember.
Yeah, always at Forsyth.
And it's so good to see you again. And I forget, Shirley Luckadoo from Rowan Cavaris, and my good friend, longtime friend, Billy Meeks. It seems like there was one more I'm leaving.
And Bonnie Stone.
You're right, from Sanders. So they came and talked to me and said, if you can get us some money from Governor Scott, we're going to start a program in leadership development for the community college system. So I went and talked to Governor Scott, and Governor Scott found $15,000, as I recall. That what was it? $10,000. And to get them to start this program. And Pat and I became instant good friends and developed the first program. And I think almost every year over the last 30, I've had some role in the program. We've redesigned it a couple of times, but mostly I've been the presenter about the history and mission of the system, how that impacts leadership, which I've enjoyed immensely. I never drive down 311 through Ashburn that almost don't turn to go to Camp Caraway. We've been there so many times. But particularly those of you who work for community colleges, here's my most interesting thing about this program. Besides the more than 1,000 now, as I recall, graduates of this program over the last 30 years. For those of you that aren't in higher education, you won't be familiar with this, but most of us who have been around community colleges in particular over the last few decades, among faculty and staff, there's kind of a joke going, and that is, what's going to be the initiative this year, right? And there's a joke among faculty and staff, and what do you call those initiatives? I hear it everywhere I go, the flavor of the month. The flavor of the month. So what's going to be our flavor of the month? And I can tell you, having worked with the Gates Foundation, I've gone to a lot of colleges later, after we sunk a lot of money, and 3 or 4 years later, I look around and I can't see any effects of the program whatsoever once the money went. Well, this is a program that with $10,000 as seed money has lasted 30 years.
31.
31 years. You could be my wife the way you pray.
I don't want the class, this current class yet.
Yeah, 31 years. Well, I'm thinking, of 1989
Yeah.
when we got it started. And that says something about leadership itself, right? Because when you've heard me at these sessions that I participate in, got one coming up next month, though. One of the things I talk about in terms of leadership, one of the key things is I think someone who is persistent and can stay with it. And even when there's rough spots in the road and it looks like things aren't going the way, you keep it. I tell a story, which I'm not going to tell now, this great story about Dallas Harry. And he's just phenomenal. He served on the State Board of Education for 22 years, 20 as the chair. Had Luther Hodges finally tell him, okay, I'm going to fund some industrial education centers, but I better never see a library. Then took on Sanford and just kept at it till the system was born. I think about Felix G. and Doug Finch here. Davidson County was one of the original counties designated to have one of the original 20 industrial education centers. There was a deadline. And Davidson County couldn't get a drawing passed to get the matching money. And the deadline was running out. And the people in Salisbury were just hoping Davidson County didn't come up with the money because they wanted that industrial education center in Rowan County. And Felix G. and Doug Finch from Lexington and Thomasville respectively went out and got the money, the matching money to make this possible. So Pat's had that kind of persistence with this program. It's really followed through. I'm just amazed, and I've said this to you before, with the number of things that have come and gone, that this one has stayed. And it's for a lot of reasons, but it's primarily because of your leadership. Now, one more end of the story. So 12 months, some of you've seen this before, 12 months after Governor Scott came up with the $10,000, which I think I told you that in one of my last visits with him at Hall before he had to go to a nursing home, he talked about this program. He says, that's probably one of the best investments we ever made. And I think you're right. But this same group of persuasive women from the AEWCJC, become an honorary member, they came back to see me again. So we got another baby mask. I said, what's that? He says, we want to have the graduation at Melville Farms. Now, if you don't know North Carolina history, you don't know that Melville Farms was the home of Carl Scott and Bob Scott out in Hall River, big dairy farm. So I went to see Governor Scott into his office and said, are you willing to do this? He said, you need to go talk to Jesse Ray. That was his wife. So I went and talked to Jesse Ray, and Jesse Ray said, George, we're going to do it if one thing. He said, what? He says, you're going to be in charge because Bob won't do it. Darn thing, we'll walk around and talk to people. So we had a big cookout, and I hauled charcoal grills out there and charcoal and hamburger and everything, and we had a cookout. And those first graduates that year, so that would have been in 19... Susan, you were in the
one
first
that's old
class.
as dirt in here. I was in the first class.
Okay. Well, so I guess the graduation must have been 1990 in the spring, and it was a beautiful day. And I stayed out till midnight cleaning up after it was over. But Pat gave each of the graduates a sweatshirt. Now, I want you to read the sweatshirt.
Community college leadership, developing visionary leaders for the next 25 years.
For the next 25 years, remember the Commission on the Future was the 25th anniversary. So the report was projecting out the next 25 years. Now tell me how many initiatives you know of that were projected to last 25 years at your church or anywhere and actually made it to the 25th year, and now we stand at the 31st year. Now, Pat, as you know, you've heard me tell this story. This has been my pride and joy. I've wanted trout fishing, I've wanted surf fishing, but yesterday I got it out, I laundered it, and it's threadbare in a few places. And I know you're going to get a more valuable award in a minute, but you told me you no longer had yours.
Oh, I do.
Well, you got this one.
Oh, I'm not taking
Yes,
it.
you are. I have really enjoyed it, and I've worn it a lot. People always, I've been many times in the surf at Curie Beach. People have come up to me and said, "What's that all about?" And I'll tell them about Pat. But Pat, your leadership in so many ways, and I've watched you for years how you've done this. And one of the things that's amazed me over the length of the time was not just that you stuck with it, but you've always had the ability, which lots of leaders, in fact, few leaders have. Darren Harkness has got this talent. I've already seen it in the last year. You can look at the big picture, the program, and look at each individual who's in that program at the same time and focus both on the big picture and the individual person. And on behalf of my boss and good friend Bob Scott, thank you for all you do.
Thank you, George. So now, Justin Nichols, he's prepared the slides that we saw earlier with some of the testimonials that different people that have been through the programs have left for Dr. Pat. And there's also a couple of videos that some people sent that Justin's going to share with us.
I am so excited for you. I was thinking today what I wanted to say, and I think the thing when I think of you that always stands out in my mind is your absolutely amazing ability to learn people's names. It just still baffles me how you can do that. But more importantly than that, what has always amazed me is your compassion. And I've seen you plow through classes and all kinds of difficult situations when you weren't feeling 100% and you never knew it. Because you always put us before you. And you've put the system before you, you've put your classes before you, and you have treated every single one of us as if we were the only thing that mattered in your life. And for that, you so deserve this award and so much more. So please receive my congratulations. I miss not being there to celebrate with you and cannot wait till we have a chance to get together and celebrate this. You so deserve this honor and this award, and I love you. Thank you.
Hello, Dr. Pat. This is Chad Chastain at Cleveland Community College. I'm Director of Workforce Development. I was a 2010 graduate of your leadership program. I want to thank you very much for all the hard work and dedication that you gave to me. Eleanor Roosevelt said to help yourself, use your head, but to help others, use your heart. Thank you so much for showing me how to use my heart and share it with others. Thank you.
Hi, Dr. Akers. This is Nidra Maddox from Cleveland Community College, class of 2005. Congratulations. So excited for you. Take care.
Pat, I am so excited for you. I was thinking today,
Okay. Thank you, Justin. We also wanted to ask Ms. Allred if she would come up to share a couple words with us, being from the very first class of the NCCCLP.
Well, George and everybody else has made me feel about 110 because I'm from the very first class. Of course, Pat and I go way back, and we before that leadership program ever started. But I knew what was going on, and I worked with her and Shirley some, and I knew I wanted to be in that very first class, and I was. And I had the good fortune afterwards to also serve as the co-director for 2 years, and then came back periodically to do sessions with the graduates and the participants. It meant a lot to me. That leadership program gave me the strength in my day and time as a woman, breaking the barriers and going up in senior leadership. And it meant a lot to me. But the person that meant the most to me beyond the program was Pat. And you've seen from the videos, from the testimonials and everything else, that she's the heart and soul of this program. And without her, it just would not go. And she's always been my friend. We have lost touch recently, but we regained each other on Facebook a while back. Good old Facebook, it gets you in touch with people. And she was always there for me during some of my struggles, and I was developing my career as a friend, as a mentor, as a confidant. I knew that I could trust her with ever. And she's so easy to be around and to share with. And one thing I remember when I saw her today is her love of purple. I remember it stood out in my mind right away. But I think that this program wouldn't be here if it were not for Pat. It just wouldn't. It wouldn't have lasted as long as it has. And I'm so proud that it's lasted so long. I didn't really know that it was still going on. So I'm really happy to be here and share that. But I know you've come a long way from our first year. But I'll tell you, our class was very, very special, and it was a good thing. I'm glad that we did it. So I'm glad that you're doing this today for Pat. I'm glad that she's receiving this award because I can't think of anybody better who so richly deserves it.
Thank you.
Now, something to Dr. Brooks. I hate Brian couldn't be here. I've talked to him several times, and he was looking forward to it. Those of you who don't know, Brian now lives outside of Asheville, lived in Blowing Rock for a good while when he left here. I don't know, I kind of kept up with Brian because Brian and Jean lived back door to my mother and dad over in Thomasville. When I retired early, I took care of my mother and dad over in Thomasville. I kept up with Brian, and Brian worked with the endowment board, as I recall, with the School of Education at Appalachian State. And Jean practiced law in Blowing Rock, and since they moved over to Buncombe County, Brian was looking forward to being here. But I know that Brian was an interesting president. I told Ken White and Beth Perry when we had lunch that day, they asked me what I'd be interested in. I said, yeah, I always wanted to work at Davidson County Community College. I never got the chance. And Brian had such a great senior staff. We talked about my coming here a few times. One of the greatest honors I had during the Commission on the Future, I came here several times for things, spoke to a big community group one time down in the cafeteria. But Brian invited me to speak to the Thomasville Rotary Club. And my dad was a member of that. He arranged for both my dad and my mother to be there. And he had Wink Cable, any of Davidson County, whatever Wink Cable. Had Wink Cable that introduced me, and had Don Truill say a few words. Now, those of you aren't Davidson County, Don Truill is now the chair of the Davidson County Board of Commissioners. But Don Truill, besides my daddy, was my first boss. He was in charge of circulation. Some of you in Davidson County can't believe that's where Don Truill started. He was in charge of circulation for the Thomasville Times. And I was a paper boy for the Thomasville Times from age 13 to age 16. And Ken White knows this story. That's why I get up at 3:30 still every morning. I had to pick up my papers at West End Grocery and carry all the way down Lexington Avenue to where now the hospital is, go a long arm, and get back home before my daddy left for work at 6:30. But Don Truill was my circulation manager. And before, somebody may wonder, how did he become chief of police? Well, he at his night beat, he wrote the police report for the Thomasville Times. He hang around across the street there at Thomasville Times, hang around at the old police department. And he got to know Paul Short, who was the chief of police, who talked him into going into police work. And that's how he got into police work, eventually become the chief of police. But Brian Brooks has told me a lot about what he thought about Pat. Brian was one of these guys, he had a major role. We had several presidents who had major roles in the invitation of the commission report. Brian and Marvin Joyner at Central Carolina Community College were the two keys, because Brian had convinced the presidents that conversion to a semester system was not only a good thing, but it was doable, because lots of people didn't want to convert to the semester system. Nurses said you couldn't teach nursing on a semester system. Mary Ridley would have thought different as a nurse, but Brian did. And a lot of people didn't want to redo the funding formula, because we had 20 rural colleges that were really struggling for it. I mentioned the Staten Island perspective. And we totally redid the funding formula and created a larger base formula, the base allotment that every college got. And Ruth Shaw, some of you will remember Ruth Shaw, later became president of Duke Energy, but she was the president of Central Piedmont Community College at the time. Ruth said that Central Piedmont, that we robbed Central Piedmont of a lot of money and spread it out on a small college. But Brian Brooks led the way on that and convinced the presidents that this is what we need to do. And of course, it helped a lot of things, particularly articulation for transfer students into four-year colleges and universities. So one of the things that always impressed me about Brian, and Pat, I bet you can sense this, but I learned most of this from Dolores Livengood, who still is a faculty member here. And Dolores and I grew up next door to each other in Thomasville. And it always surprised me, because I would think, having been a college president, Dolores would be a person that was hard to get along with. But Brian loved her. Brian said, I really like Dolores Lyman, because when she comes to tell you something, you know that she's telling you exactly what she thinks, and it's going to stay right there. And Brian kind of had that reputation, Pat, as I understand it, with faculty and staff. And I regret that he can't be here. Well, we're going to move on. It's my pleasure to introduce Burr Sullivan. Burr is currently a member of the State Board of Community Colleges. I really haven't known Burr since he's been on the state board, and he and I, as I mentioned, are serving on a task force together. But I knew of Burr. One time I was in this very room shortly after the conference center was built, or the walls were open. And I was helping Mary with some kind of community leadership, Lexington, or was it Davidson County? Lexington?
They had an in-house leadership program too.
I know that. This was the community.
Leadership Davidson County.
Leadership Davidson County, thank you. And Burr was the speaker before I was, and I got here early, as I normally do, and I was listening to him. Burr, you were the director of the Lexington Chamber of Commerce at that time, I believe, but you had a previous life in the printing industry, did I get that right? In the printing industry. And Burr came on the state board a year ago, roughly, 2 years ago. And I believe, I stand to be corrected, but I believe Burr is the only person from Davidson County ever appointed to the State Board of Community Colleges. Someone corrected me here one time and said, no, Mindy Mendenhall did. No, I don't think so. I knew Mindy well. Died a month ago. And a longtime friend. Now, Mindy was very active in the North Carolina Association of Community College trustees. In fact, that's how I got to know him, sat on the executive board for a long time. And I believe actually got involved in the National Association of Community College Trustees as well. But I believe Burr is the first person from Davidson County to ever serve on the State Board of Community Colleges. And I can tell you, having served on this task force with him, he knows a lot about Davidson County Community College, but as a result, he's been able to translate that into his role on the state board, and he is certainly doing a strong job as a member of the State Board of Community College. Burr.
Thank you, Will. George didn't tell the part that when I retired from my printing business at the Chamber of Commerce work, that my wife was greatly worried about what she was going to do with me being in her. I took her out of retirement in '71, and she was greatly worried about me being around the house. So the word around Davidson County was that she asked our representative in Raleigh if he could find a board in Raleigh that would get me out of town for a few days a month and give her a little bit of a break. But I am enjoying my time in Raleigh, and I am honored to be here on behalf of our state board today for this celebration to recognize Pat Akers for her very successful career. And I would say in looking at Pat's career, it's been more of a calling for her to train leaders all across the state. She probably wouldn't even define it as work, although a lot of work has gone into what she's done, but it has been a calling. And obviously, the state is much better off because of her leadership. Now, I go back a long ways in Davidson County, and I remember the time long before Governor Scott and George Fouts asked Pat to develop the program, the statewide program that he has just spoken about. I remember the time in the early 1980s, when our Chambers of Commerce here in Davidson County came to our brand new president, and if he was here, I was going to rib him a little bit and say he had very dark, wavy hair in those days, which he did, Brian Brooks. And he was brand new to the college, and our chambers here asked him to help us develop a leadership program that would help businesses and governmental units and the 4 school systems, this college and the 3 public school systems, train emerging leaders. Brian immediately said, yes, this is a good idea, and Pat Akers will be the very best person to develop that program. 32 years later, that program is still going in Davidson County. It is Leadership Davidson County. And we have graduated over 600 leaders, some of which work now. I think most of Dr. Hartness's vice presidents today are graduates of Leadership Davidson County. So it's a program that Pat developed, and she went on to develop the DCCC Academy, which trained leaders here that were both instructors as well as non-instructional people. The non-instructional people have to have leadership skills too. And she developed that academy and has trained a number of people. And then, of course, as George alluded to, Governor Scott saw the great need all across the state to have leaders trained specifically to run community colleges. The 1,000 people that Pat has trained are now running our great 58 community colleges. They are the presidents, and they are the vice presidents, and they are department heads in all of the 58 colleges all over the state. And George and I spent a couple of days last week in Pinehurst talking about opportunities and challenges facing our schools. And there are equal parts of those things. You know, we do have a number of counties that are losing population. That's what brought our task force into being. About 47 of our counties and out of the 100 are losing population right now.